Welcome. So, one of the very important things to, so I would say it's a fundamental aspect of somatics is, and you've heard me speak of this before, is to recognize that there are we have two fundamental possibilities. So we're either taking action or we're inhibiting action. So those are the two possibilities in the realm of action, in the realm of duality, in the realm of this world, in the realm of thought, in the realm of sensation, in the realm of energy. So within any manifest realm, we can really pare it down. Everything comes down to these two fundamental options: either taking action or inhibiting action. So, of course, we can also recognize there's a third thing. It's not but it doesn't fit into that paradigm. Okay, so it's outside of that paradigm. And it doesn't have a name, but we could call that awareness. And you can notice that awareness, whatever we want to call it, okay, awareness is just a term. But awareness, just notice in your direct experience that awareness is untouched by action or inhibition of action. So these are, we could say, the three fundamental components of all that is. So awareness is the most fundamental, it's the most essential, because awareness, without awareness, there's no action and no inhibition of action. So just take a look. I'm not telling you this as like more mental junk to file away. This is something for you to take a look at. So you can see that there, in your direct experience, just take a look and notice that you're aware. And then awareness, within awareness, there is either action or inhibition of action. Now, action and inhibition of action are dependent upon awareness, whereas awareness is not dependent upon action or inhibition of action, which you can discover directly simply by ceasing all action or inhibition of action, which maybe you can recognize that right now. Or if you don't have enough familiarity with that, then maybe you don't know how to recognize that. But that's what we come to that through our explorations. So what we're hearing now is action. And what you can recognize in yourself is that you're probably very good at action. You know how to layer action on top of action. And that's the way in which most of us have learned how to navigate this manifest experience. So if we have an experience that we say we don't like, so you can notice for yourself, if you have some experience that you don't like, whether that's a thought or a sensation or any a vision, any experience that you think you don't like, you have the opinion that you don't like, you can notice that you have various strategies for dealing with that. Some that are more or less successful. I mean, ultimately, they're all failed. None of them are really successful. But to varying degrees, they're more or less unsuccessful. Let's put it that way. So some of them are so unsuccessful that they're immediately painful, and that's obvious. And some of them are only slightly unsuccessful, and so those seem like maybe they kind of work. Relatively speaking, they work as long as we've got enough hope and energy and time. Then we can perceive that, hey, this seems to be working, seems to be all right, seems to be better. But over, as time, if you diminish the amount of time or energy or hope, then what happens is you start to recognize that none of those are really fully successful. All of them, ultimately, they're somewhat depleting. Now, why are they depleting? Because all those strategies rely upon action. So we're layering action on top of action on top of action. So you can imagine this. Okay, so you're at a crossroads, and there are 4 directions you could go on these roads, or you could go off road. But on the roads, there's 4 options. Okay, you can go forward, you can go backward, you can go left, you can go right. So here you are, and you say, I'm going to go forward. And you start to take a step forward. And midway on that step, you say, you know what? I think I'm going to go left. So then you start going left. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to trip over yourself because you're trying to go forward and left at the same time. Now, let's say you don't fall down. Now, midway in that decision that you're going to turn left, you say, oh, this isn't really working out. I think I'm going to go backward. Now you try going backward, but you're still trying to go forward and left. Oh, this isn't working either. I think I'm going to go right. And you notice how this should feel familiar when you imagine that, because this is how we live our lives, most of us. Until we gain facility in inhibition. So inhibition seems within the context of the way in which most of us have been taught, inhibition seems like a waste of time, because it does take time. And that's because we've been taught, most of us, that you got to be productive. You've got to achieve something. You've got to attain your goal. That's how you're going to be satisfied, is when you attain your goal. So you've got to keep taking strides, make progress, get there, achieve. And so inhibition seems to be in conflict with that prime directive. Go, achieve, win, victory at all costs, don't stop, break through, overcome. However you understand it, whatever metaphors resonate within you, the fundamental, the essence of all of them, whether it's overcoming or breaking through or going around or sidestepping or whatever it is, the fundamental essence of all of them is more action. Keep moving, keep going. And hopefully it becomes clear when I describe this crossroads, and you can imagine yourself at that crossroads and you're trying to take a step forward and then you hesitate and you try to take a step left, and then you hesitate and you try to take a step back, and then you hesitate and you try to take a step right. And what are you doing? You're tripping over yourself. Now you can keep this idea going that I'm getting somewhere, I'm achieving something, I'm taking action. That's what it's all about. You got to take action. That's what everybody says. And so you keep up this pretense that I'm getting somewhere, I'm achieving something because I'm taking action. But in fact, you're getting nowhere. You're exhausting yourself, and quite possibly you're injuring yourself. So it's worse. It's a very bad situation. So this is why inhibition is such a powerful process. So we've committed already to some action, but then we hesitate. We're not sure. So before we layer on more action, we want to be clear in the action that we're going to take. And in order to have that clarity, we have to come to a stillness. We have to inhibit the action that we already started. So in Newtonian physics, one of the laws of motion is that an object in motion remains in motion unless it's acted upon by some force. So we've committed to an action. We initiated an action. We have to inhibit that. The force is the force of inhibition to come to rest. Then at rest, we're in a position to gain clarity and then commit to action or not. So we don't actually have a mandate that we must take action, but if we choose action, we can choose the action from clarity rather than tripping over ourselves. So this skill of inhibition is underdeveloped for most of us. And like so many things, when something is underdeveloped, when it's a skill that we don't have a lot of facility in, we have the way that we react to that. It will be a familiar way, and it's not a way that you like. So however you are in the habit of reacting to what is unfamiliar, what you don't have skill with, it's familiar to you and it's something that you don't like. You try to avoid it, and you have various strategies for avoiding that. Whatever those might be, whether that's, you puff yourself up and say, I'm the greatest at these other things, look how great I am. Distract yourself with something, to go into depression. Any of these, so many possibilities, but those are the strategies for dealing with or avoiding fundamentally actually learning. So it's helpful to get clear. This is why I often emphasize honesty. Okay. What is the truth? And by the truth, I'm not talking about truth with a capital T. I'm talking about truth with a little t. But my personal actual truth, my real truth to myself right now, so that I can drop all the pretense and stop lying to myself that, oh, I'm getting somewhere, I'm achieving something, I'm fixing, I'm succeeding. When in fact, what is the real truth? And that's the thing to look at. That's what I'm getting at here is, of course, you're succeeding in certain ways. Of course, you're getting somewhere in certain ways, but is it really in a way that's deeply satisfying? Is it in a way that actually gives you a profound sense of correctness? And if not, then you can just tell the truth about that. And then which I do, so this is not like I'm not up on a pedestal. I'm just sharing with you my experience. So if I really want something truly positive, truly nourishing, truly good in my life, why do I want that? I want that because I actually, in truth, in the deeper truth, I perceive that there's something that's off, something that's lacking, something that's not right. So I want to tell the truth about that. Okay, I started some action and now I'm tripping over myself. Now I'm injuring myself. Something's not right, but there's a momentum here, and I feel compelled by that momentum to continue with this dissatisfaction and unhappiness. And there's a growing desperation because I don't like it, but I don't know what to do, and all of my strategies aren't working. Well, this is a really good clue that what I need, what all those strategies are strategies for avoiding learning something new, and that the newness that I'm avoiding learning is is deepening the skill of inhibition, because the skill of inhibition needs to match my skill of action. It's like if you have a car, okay, and you're wanting to drive the car safely, this is great. You want to get somewhere in your car, is no problem. But hey, if your brakes aren't up to the job, might want to reconsider that. You want your brakes need to be able to match the uh, the what you're doing, right? So if I'm driving at 35 miles an hour, but my brakes can't stop me at 35 miles an hour, I'm in a dangerous situation, and I don't want to be in a dangerous situation. So I need to get the brake work done. So inhibition is like developing the skill of inhibition is like getting the brake work done so that it matches the ability to move. So if we developed, great skill in action, we can take action at 100 miles an hour, but our brakes only can brake at like 5 miles an hour. So we need them to match. We need the skill of inhibition to always at least be equal to our skill of action. So that's one of the most important things that we're doing. Okay. And in the process, if you encounter discomfort, then take that as a good sign. What that means is you're developing that skill. If you don't encounter a discomfort, chances are you're holding yourself back from actually learning something. Which does not mean it has to be unpleasant all the time. Certainly shouldn't be, because that also signifies that something's off. But don't think that the only indicator for success in this development of the skill of inhibition is that you're going to feel good all the time, and that you're going to like the way that you're feeling, because actually in the process you're going to feel things that you've wanted to avoid. And as you learn to be present to those experiences and you gain the facility with inhibition, then you start to feel better. So it's like, so many other things. You want to get in shape. You've been lying around on the couch for the last 5 years, and now you want to go run. maybe it's not going to feel that great at certain times. So, but it's not, it's a good metaphor in a sense, because again, here also we want to match. So we don't want to try to power through either. You know, if there's discomfort, we want to honor that discomfort. We want to be present to the discomfort. We want to be gentle with it though. We don't want to try to push and power through. So it's the same. If you've been lying around on the couch for 5 years and now you want to go for a run, you're going to go run 10 miles? Probably not. So you want to honor that relative truth that you need to work up to that. And so similarly, when you encounter the discomfort, don't shy away from it, but at the same time, don't be aggressive, be gentle. So let's choose a posture, and we're going to just explore gently stillness today. So just choose a posture where you can be still in the body, but at the same time, you want to be, you don't want to collapse. So we want to find the balance where we're challenged to be still, but we're not so challenged that we're going to be straining unnecessarily. I mean, obviously there's going to be unnecessary strain. That's what we're uncovering. But that unnecessary strain is the habit of action that we're learning to gently inhibit. So we need to find the right balance where the level of that unnecessary strain is manageable. So if it's so great that you're perceiving it as pain, anguish, something you have to endure, something you've got to push through or struggle with, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So you want to find that right balance where, of course, there's going to be some discomfort. Of course, there's going to be something that's going to seem off. There's going to be something that where you're straining, you're struggling, but it should be something that you can be present to, and that you have confidence that to some degree you will be able to soften. To some degree you will be able to surrender. You will be able to advance in your learning of inhibition. So whatever that is for you today, that could be sitting, could be lying down. And then close the eyes. And become aware of, just lightly, just sort of take a light inventory of the problems of your life. And here it helps really just to be honest. You know, this is not about positive thinking. This is, you don't have to be fearful that if you allow yourself to take inventory of the problems that you're giving them energy. In fact, what's actually true is the more that you lie about them or try and hide them or avoid them or play them down, the more you're actually empowering them. So here, just lightly, just notice the problems of your life and notice. So these could be physical problems, they could be mental problems, they could be emotional problems, they could be problems that show up in relationships. They could be problems that show up in finance. They could be problems that show up in health. Chances are you've got a mix of all of those things. And notice how all of those problems, there's something that they all have in common. And what they all have in common is that you perceive them as problems. And so notice how you perceive them to be problems. Notice what the actual experience of that is. So you might remember some recent thing that happened that you've perceived as problematic, or maybe it's happening now. And just notice what your experience is. Notice how you understand it to be a problem versus something that's not a problem. So there's some way in which you understand this experience to be a problem. And here I'm not talking about at the level of thought, because at the level of thought, you could understand that a million different ways. You could come up with a million different stories about it. But I'm talking about at a deeper level than that. You can just notice how you feel that it is a problem. What is the felt sense of the problem? Just notice that. So this is actually the heart of it, isn't it? I mean, if you could maybe imagine that the same external things could be going on, same external situation. So as far as anybody outside could tell, it looks exactly the same. Your bank account has the same number. The other people around you are doing the same things, looking the same way, thinking the same things. You might even be thinking the same thoughts. Okay, everything looks the same, but inwardly imagine that whatever this way in which you understand it to be a problem, the felt sense of the problem, imagine that that has disappeared. It's vanished. So just imagine that. Imagine now that that's gone. Well, I mean, if that's gone, you really have to imagine this now. So I'm not saying that you have to make it go away. I'm just saying imagine, pretend as if it has gone away. So you're just using your imagination as if, pretending. Now, if that has gone away, is there a problem? If the felt sense of the problem has gone away, is there a problem? And maybe you get it right away, you get a clear answer on that. Maybe it's really clear. Yeah, of course, there's no problem. If this is gone, if the felt sense of the problem goes away, then there's no problem. But it might also be that you, out of habit, you're so conflated the felt sense with the story and the circumstances, the images and so forth, that you say, no, I'm sure it would still be a problem. It'd have to be a problem. But look again, just notice if the felt sense is not here, how would you know that it's a problem? So you might imagine it's almost like just watching something on TV, just watching it. Like imagine that you're just watching it and it's still going on, but you're no longer perceiving, you're no longer invested in it. So it doesn't matter. You realize it's just what's on TV. It's not reality. Doesn't have anything to do with you. So whatever that felt sense that was previously perceived to be the problem, it's gone. So then hopefully you start to recognize, well, I guess there wouldn't be a problem then. Regardless of what's going on the TV, I don't have a problem. So now notice what that is, that felt sense of the problem. Just notice where you feel it, and notice how you do it. So here I'm giving away something in case it wasn't already obvious. It's an action. So the felt sense of the problem is an action. It's something that you are doing, not necessarily consciously, of course, because the problem. So I'm going to use now from here on out, I'll just say the problem as a shorthand for the felt sense of the problem. So we've let go of the more superficial layers and we've gotten to the deeper layer of the problem. And so now we recognize that the problem is really just the felt sense of the problem. So the problem is an action. And how can you know that that's true? Well, it's something that you are experiencing. So notice that that's true. It's not being done to you. It's something that you are experiencing. So it's one of those things, like in English, we, at least in American English, it's very common to use the passive voice, like it's very common, because we learn to perceive ourselves as victims. So I'm not taking action, things are being done to me. And so the way in which we speak reflects a way in which we perceive. And the way we perceive, we often conflate with reality, whereas in fact, reality stands apart from the perception. Reality is what the perception is occurring in. But we come to believe that the perception is the reality. So our reality, we believe, is the perception, and the perception is shaped by the way we speak / think. And we think and perceive ourselves to be victims of something that's happening to me. But take a look and see, this problem is something that you experience. It's not something that somebody else is experiencing. It's your unique experience. So where is it occurring? Isn't it occurring in you? And who else could be doing it? So if you can start to at least see that it's possible, maybe even probable, that the problem is something that you are doing, it's an action that you're taking, then the good news is that now you're empowered, because all you need now to do is to learn how to inhibit that action in equal measure to the measure in which the action is chronically being taken. Okay, so this action is set into motion to a degree. Okay, so whatever that will say on us, we can put it on a scale from 0 to 100 of strength, and it's chronically at that strength, whatever that is. It doesn't really matter, but let's say it's at a 25, but our inhibition power is only a 5, so we can't sufficiently inhibit the action, and so we perceive that this problem is chronic, goes with us everywhere, and then we say, see, I'm a victim. I can't make it stop. It just keeps happening. But the good news is you can inhibit it. You can learn how to do that. It just takes patience and attention. So you're already learning just by being aware, just by noticing, just by giving your attention to it. So continue to allow your attention to be with this problem, the felt sense of the problem, and notice how you do it. Notice what this action is. So you don't need to think your way to the answer. Having the right answer in words won't really help you. It's about feeling into it. So feel your way to the problem. Feel how you do it. Feel that. And maybe you already notice that it starts to soften. That's very likely just by being aware of it. But if you don't notice that it's already softening, or even if you do, let's at least enhance that. We can use a couple of simple methods. So one method is be aware of the low-hanging fruits. And what I mean by that is, where in the body do you habitually tense up? And just scan for those areas and gently soften those. Remember that it's all one. So even if the problem seems to be centered in some part of the body, wherever that might be, it could be in the chest or in the throat or in the stomach or anywhere, it doesn't really matter. But wherever that might seem to be, that's not actually apart from the rest of the body. So notice your face. Let the face be soft. Let the eyes be soft. Let the forehead be soft. Let the back of the neck be soft. Let the shoulders be soft. Let the hands and wrists be soft and heavy. Let them just be heavy so that you're not so tempted to try and do something with them. Let it all just start to be heavy so that it starts to rest and relax, and you don't need to reassert those old habits of tensing up. So then again, notice the problem, and maybe you notice already just through that simple awareness exercise that already the problem is lessened. So you've learned already to inhibit just through that simple technique. Now you can also become aware of the breath. So just be aware of your breathing. So here you're not trying to control the breath. You're not trying to breathe on it with a certain pattern. You're just being aware of the breath. And you have an intention now. So you're not forcing anything, but your intention, it's a very light, gentle thing, is just to allow the breath to become relaxed. So it's nothing forced. You're not straining or counting or huffing and puffing or anything. You're just relaxing and being aware. So as you're aware of the breath, notice, is there anywhere that the breath is not traveling easily? So be aware, for example, of the abdomen. Does the breath travel easily and effortlessly in the abdomen, or is there any restriction? And without straining or trying to force a bigger breath or anything like that, so just by being aware, can you soften any restriction? So you might find that just by being aware and having that intention, that lo and behold, you can. And then the question is, can you allow for that to be sustained? So you may notice, for example, that on the inhalation, you can allow for a softening or relaxation of some habitual tension or restriction in the abdomen. And then the question is, can you allow that to remain soft as you exhale?
Hands like that. Ow, what is it? Ow! No, maybe.
So then just be aware, where else is the breath traveling or not traveling easily? Just notice. So you're allowing the breath without any force, and you're just noticing. And it takes patience because you might notice the breath slows down. So each breath cycle takes longer, and don't want to rush anything or strain anything. It just takes patience to continue to be aware throughout the entire breath cycle. You might notice somewhere in the chest or in the back or in the neck or in the throat, and just continue with each breath to see if you can become aware and release, and then continue to be aware and continue to allow that release to be sustained. So then you hopefully start to notice that this problem, the felt sense of the problem, has reduced. And you might think, well, yeah, that's easy because I'm relaxing, and because whatever the problematic circumstances of my life aren't as present right now. But again, notice, where does the problem, when the problem arises, where does it occur? Is it occurring outside of you, or is it occurring in your experience? And if you have been able to inhibit it now, what would prevent you from inhibiting it at any time? So the only thing that would prevent you from inhibiting it at any other time would be if the habit of action overpowers your skill in inhibition. So it could just be that the habit of tensing up is so strong, maybe it's a 85 on that scale, and you've now developed a skill of inhibition at a 50. So you can manage anything up to a 50, but as soon as it crosses over that, you don't seem to be able to do that any longer. So there may be circumstances that provoke that reaction at a stronger level, at that 85. And then you think, oh, see, I'm a victim again. All it means is that you have not yet fully developed the skill of inhibition adequately to inhibit action at that level. So all we need to do is continue to develop that skill. So you can even see right now, can you imagine something that can provoke a stronger problem response within yourself? Well, maybe you can. If so, then don't be shy. Go ahead and do that. Because now you know that you have this skill, you can inhibit. Maybe you just haven't developed the skill adequately to inhibit certain habits, but you can. So having that knowledge should give you confidence. It should embolden you. So go ahead and see if you can provoke the problem. What do you need to do? What do you imagine? What thoughts, images, what can you do? I'll always be miserable. I'll never have enough. Nobody will ever approve of me. Nobody will ever love me. I have these terrible dark secrets. I'm a evil person. I'm a loser. I'm a bad person. I'm never going to be okay. I'm always going to be in pain. Whatever can provoke that, just see if you can provoke it, and don't be afraid to do so. You don't want to try to drive your car and while applying the brakes at the same time. So here we're not trying to apply the brakes yet. We want to just see if we can provoke that problem, the action. And then if you can, if you're able to do that and you can feel it, then let's just go through the same basic exploration again. So now you've provoked that action. Now it's like you're going to take your foot off the accelerator, and now we're going to explore inhibition. So notice the felt sense of the problem. Be aware of the breath. And let the breath be relaxed, but no force. So you're just aware of the breath. And your awareness of the breath helps you to become aware of wherever the breath is not moving easily, wherever there's any kind of restriction. And you just notice that you can start to soften or release that. So you can let the face be soft, let the throat be soft, let the neck be soft, let the shoulders be soft. Just keep being aware wherever the breath is restricted. Let your attention go there and soften. Let the breath be gentle and even and smooth without any force. Just keep letting everything be soft and relaxed and gentle. And in just a moment, we will conclude this formal inquiry. So be aware of your physical body. Be aware of your skin. Be aware of what's inside your skin. And be aware of what's outside your skin. And be aware of the room that you're in. And then notice yourself as awareness, or as presence, or as aliveness. Notice that all of the things and the space that you're aware of is in this broader aliveness. And notice that this broader aliveness also, you can perceive it as a felt sense, that you have a sense of yourself as this broad, vast presence. And in just a moment, I'm going to invite you to slowly begin to open the eyes. And when I do, I want you to be aware of this aliveness, this vastness of yourself continuously. So start by being aware of this vastness, this aliveness. And then in just a moment, as you're going to start opening the eyes, I want you to continue to be aware of this aliveness and see that it's possible to remain aware of this aliveness even as the eyes are open. So go ahead and slowly begin to open the eyes.
Did you say I'm gonna have all around the house? Yeah, no more.
Okay, so for those who are here live, we'll stay on for the Q&A afterward if you would like. And in just a moment, I'm going to end this recording. So thank you to everybody for joining me today. And I'm going to end the recording, so be prepared, those who are here live, because the announcement is a little loud.